lies in front of you is a 2011 Lexus CT200h with 99,000 miles. Now, the Lexus CT200h was originally introduced in North America in 2011 and existed until 2017. This CT in specific is equipped with a 1.8-liter four-cylinder engine, which produces 134 horsepower. And as it is the CT200h, which is the hybrid, it has a 202-volt nickel-metal hydride battery to go alongside. Now, if you might be wondering what the CT stands for, it stands for Creative Touring, and just a kind of unique name to a cool little hatchback. Big thing about these hatchbacks, they are rare vehicles. They only peaked at 17,000 sales in North America in 2012 and 2014, and as they were discontinued in 2017, these are becoming a small hot commodity in the world of hatchback fans. Nonetheless, in this video, I'll be taking you around the Lexus CT200h, showing off its luxurious features and characteristics, taking it for a spin, and seeing where it falls on the lemon list evaluation scale. Stay tuned. So moving to the front of the 2011 CT200h, one thing I want to point out, there was two facelifts of the CT200h. This was before that. This is the first year that the CT was on sale in the United States. So it has the late 2000s smaller Lexus grille. I'm personally a big fan of this because it's more subtle luxurious, which I think is a nice design more than like an in-your-face thing. Not that the new ones are bad, but just I like the simple and classic design. Nonetheless, as you can see, just a nice simple design, little grille, some nice good headlights right here. So one thing that you might have noticed is the Lexus badge has a blue outline around it, and you might be wondering, why is that? The blue outline signifies that it is a hybrid. On any Lexus or Toyota product that is a hybrid, the logo will have a blue outline around it to let you know that it is a hybrid vehicle. Kind of a cool touch. So moving to the side profile of the Lexus CT200h, one thing I want to point out is if you notice, the rear door is actually slightly smaller than the front door. This is usually common in some cars, but just notably different size in the door. It's kind of cool. It has this bit of kind of a question mark design to it. One other thing I want to point out on the rear door, on both sides you can see a little blue badge that says hybrid on it to remind you this is indeed a hybrid vehicle. And moving a bit backwards, I also really like the design of the rims of this vehicle. It's a nice, simple, cool little design to the rims that really just fits the car nicely. I really like the design of the rims. So probably moving to the most important exterior features of the CT200h is the rear, the hatchback part of the vehicle. One thing I really like about the back of the CT200h is opposed to a lot of other hatchback vehicles that are kind of bubbly or just kind of oversized large to signify as a hatchback. I've always found the CT200h to have a very chiseled and very just dignified look to the rear of the vehicle. It's got this nice swooping design. It's simple. It's not over bubbly. It's just a nice rear design to the CT. Kind of gives it character as well. So assessing the trunk space in the 2011 CT200h, as you can see, you got a pretty good amount of storage for a hatchback. These two seats in the back do fold down. They have a 60-40 split. In case you want to get more access to the storage in the vehicle. You also have a bit of a cargo cover right here, which is pretty cool in case you want to pull it over and hide some precious valuables in the back of the CT. But overall though, you know, for a little hatchback, pretty good storage overall. Gives you a little bit more room than a sedan probably would. So just good storage in the CT. So moving underneath the hood of the 2011 CT200h, you can see Lexus's 1.8-liter four-cylinder engine, which produces 134 horsepower underneath the hood of the CT200h. One thing I got a bit of a kick out of on the hood of the engine of the vehicle, you can see the Lexus badge, and right above it, also in blue lettering, pretty nice, is the Lexus hybrid drive to remind you it is a hybrid vehicle. Kind of a cool little touch on Lexus's part. So for the sake of comparison, as you can see, we have the CT on my left, and on my right, we have the 2019 Toyota Corolla hatchback. Giving it a bit of an analysis, the CT definitely has a more refined and kind of chiseled look to the back end of it, whereas the Corolla is more kind of bubbly and kind of wider, as a better word, than the CT. Both pretty cool. I kind of think the Corolla hatchback is almost a bit of the evolution of the CT. While the CT is still produced in countries around the world, this is all we have left for a Toyota hatchback now. So kind of cool to see a comparison from the rear. And now just from the front perspective, as you can see, I like how this is the pre-facelift CTs with the more kind of subtle grille opposed to the large, ginormous X kind of grille that the modern Lexuses have. Even for the sake of comparison, the Toyota Corolla hatchback has a much larger grille than the CT does, but still, kind of more on the same platform, like in size-wise, opposed to the rear. I felt that the Corolla hatchback has a bit of a wider rear. They have about the same size front ends, similar size engines as well, but just for the sake of comparison, these are the side shots of the front of the Corolla and the Lexus CT200h. So assessing the seat quality and interior quality of the 2011 Lexus CT200h, I just want to say that I absolutely love the interior color. You have this kind of peanut butter or caramel brown interior to go along with the black upholstery. Just a super nice, very luxurious looking interior to the CT200h. Just a very big fan of the look, very nice quality, and very comfortable seats overall. So in case you're going to go on a long road trip, you have these nice plush leather seats with very good upholstery for your back and your legs. So just very overall nice interior and very good comfort. Okay, so one other cool feature I want to point out before we start the CT, you need the key in the vehicle, put your foot on the brake, and press this little blue power button when it turns green. And one kind of cool touch is the screen will swivel up from its little compartment and greet you with the Lexus and Lexus Inform badge. Kind of a cool little feature in the CT to greet you when you get in the car. So getting to the steering wheel position of the CT200h, as you can see, on the left side of the steering wheel, you have your volume knobs and your other radio features. Your mode button will change the radio settings to Bluetooth, AM, FM, all that basic stuff. On the right side of the wheel, you have your talk and your phone buttons to hang up or end a call. Your display button will change the little screen on the gauge cluster screen. As you can see, it's in cruising range, your elapsed time, average speed, settings, your blank screen, battery life, tire pressure, and the oil life, your MPG when you're driving it, your average MPG, impressive 40.1, and back to your fuel range. Besides the wheel, you can see you have your windshield wiper settings on the right. On the lower portion, you have your cruise control. On the left side, you have your headlights. And one thing that's kind of cool, if you look to this screen on the left side, it is currently with the power, eco, and charge mode. If you change it to sport mode, it will all turn red and give it a more aggressive look. Back to normal mode or any other drive mode, you have your standard modes. Pretty cool features on the CT200h. So moving to the center stack of the 2011 Lexus CT200h, one thing I want to point out was, like, at first glance, it might seem like it's just loaded. There's a lot of buttons, a lot of features, but it's very convenient and good features that we'll get to momentarily. So starting at the top of the center stack, you have your screen, which I will get to momentarily. Below the screen, you have your AC vents and your hazards. And below this, you have all your fan speed, AC settings as well. Moving below this, you have your radio settings, you know, your AM, FM, satellite, CD, all that good stuff. Power, your tuning buttons, all the basic stuff. On the left side, you have your drive modes. You can see park is its own separate button, and the gauge or the gear lever is kind of weird in itself. It's kind of at a weird position right on the left side of the center stack. And as you can see, you have reverse, neutral, drive, and a B mode. And you might be wondering, what does B do? B essentially is reduced brakes. For those of you who don't know how hybrids work, basically when you're stopped or you're just driving, it will recharge and the battery, so you get better fuel economy. The B mode will, say you're going up a high incline or a snowy condition, the B mode will turn off the brake reduction, and instead of getting better fuel economy, you'll have better traction. And it's good for that scenario. So while you're losing fuel range and better fuel economy, it's better to get the better traction and power going up the snow or in the incline. Moving besides this, we have your drive modes. You have your EV mode for the best driving, your eco mode, your normal mode, which is just your basic stuff, just standard driving, and a sport mode for a more aggressive throttle experience in the CT. To the right of this, you have your heated seats for the left and right passengers. You have a little slot right here where you can store coins or hold a cell phone. This button right here is kind of your mouse and trackpad for the screen, which I'll get to momentarily. And you have this little divot right here, which has two charging outlets, a USB and a 12 volt, in case you want to charge your phone. Below this, you have your cup holders and a center console for storage. All right, so moving to the center screen, one thing I want to point out, it is not a touch screen, but no biggie. As you can see, you have a bit of a trackpad. It's almost like you're using a mouse for a computer or a laptop. And as you can see, you have your menu button, your map button for quick access. And instead of, there's, as you can see on a mouse, there's usually like little buttons at the top so you can click stuff. There is none on this one, but there is 2 enter buttons on the side of the trackpad for you to hit your things. Pretty overall simple setup, as you can see. Your info button will give you to all of your phone settings, phone, fuel consumption, map data, calendar, all these cool stuff. One that's pretty cool, you can check the stock market on the CT200H. It's not updated, but still kind of a cool feature. You can check the stocks. You can see your average fuel consumption. As you can see, this vehicle gets very good MPG in the 40 range. It is a hybrid. You can see your weather as well, all the basic stuff. Over here, you have your basic settings, your climate control settings. So in case you don't want to use the buttons manually, you can kind of configure them in the screen. And you have your audio as well to use the radio on a digitalized platform. And one other thing I want to point out about the overall trackpad and screen of the CT200H, for a 2011 vehicle, there is almost no lag. It is instantaneous. Like as I'm scrolling or hit the enter button, it will give you instant access and a readout to the screen. Pretty cool feature. Just very nice, good tech in the CT200H for 2011 hatchback. So moving to the rear of the 2011 Lexus CT200H, overall, got a pretty decent legroom for a hatchback. It's pretty good. As I said before, the rear door is a little bit smaller, and the front seat is pushed pretty far back. I'm about 5'11", and there's still pretty good overall legroom. In case you're going on a long road trip in the CT200H, you'll be pretty well comfortable in the back seats. One thing I want to point out too is, just as a front seat, very nice, high quality leather upholstery. Got these very good looking and opulent kind of caramel, peanut buttery brown or orange leather seats. It's an overall just a nice simple ride, nice simple back seat. Alrighty, so getting behind the wheel of the 2011 Lexus CT200H. The first thing I want to point out is this thing's got a pretty loud exhaust note for a little 1.8 liter 4-cylinder engine. Kind of cool. One thing I was going to point out too is before I pulled out on the highway, I was kind of riding on a bit of an incline. I was hitting the brakes a little bit, and as a hybrid, it's weird. It had a bit of a whine to it. It almost sounded like a very small, eco-efficient Dodge Charger or something like that. A cool little whine to it. One thing I want to point out is it's a Lexus, so it has more like the opulent features. It feels very planted on the highway. It feels very sportish in the sense where it has a nice stiff, tighter steering, and I like that personally. Especially when you're on like a smaller kind of sportier vehicle, it gives it a much better grip of the road. Just overall, it's a nice feeling. It's got pretty good throttle response, honestly. It's a smaller vehicle, so the 134 horsepower is pretty adequate for this vehicle. And just, I'm a big fan of hatchbacks personally. I'm more of a truck guy, but if I'm getting something small, I like a hatchback. And I like the way this car drives. It makes you feel in control. It's a nice small vehicle, so you can kind of whip it around, kind of play with it a little bit. And it's just a nice, simple driving vehicle. And one thing I want to point out too, as I said before, I love the seat quality in this vehicle. It's got very high quality leather seats, and it just feels nice. I'm just floating in this thing. I love the color of the peanut buttery seats, but just good bolstering overall. I remember in my Lexus IS 250 review, I really like how Lexus provides good comfort in the vehicle with good side bolstering for the back and your legs. Just very comfortable driving experience. On a direct comparison with the 2019 Corolla hatchback, this vehicle definitely has more of a sporty atmosphere to it. It definitely has more of the tighter steering that you would expect in a luxury vehicle. The Corolla is more kind of floaty and large. This feels much more planted and just firm to the road. I feel the Corolla has a little bit more power. The Corolla has about 34 more horsepower, I believe. The Corolla has 168 horsepower, so it's 134. A little bit of a larger engine as well. But overall, by no means it's sluggish. As it is a hybrid, it has that kind of spongy, kind of stiffer brakes as I experienced in the 2011 Ford Fusion hybrid. But just overall, going down a bit of a mountainous road right now, it feels nice. It's not very little body roll, as it is a hatchback, and the hybrid hatchback also reduces that body roll. But just a nice overall drive. And as I said before, the brakes are a little bit spongy, kind of a little bit stiffer, so you gotta hit them a little harder when you're going down a big hefty hill like I am right now. But just overall, pretty cool. Very much, I enjoy this vehicle. I like how simple it is to drive, and just a nice high quality materials, good driving experience, a pleasant little fun hatchback to enjoy with the CT200H. It is now time for the interview section. We answer 5 generic questions one would ask when going to purchase a vehicle. Question number 1 of the interview section is, what is my favorite part about the CT200H? And that is overall just the interior comfort as well as the rarity of this vehicle. As I said multiple times in the video, this vehicle has great seat comfort, great side bolstering, very comfortable. And I also love the rarity and like unique factor of the CT200H. These are not common vehicles, and I live in a pretty crowded area of New Jersey, and I don't see these I rarely see the CT200H. So one cool thing is the rarity and unique character factor of the CT that I love. Question number 2 of the interview section is, what is my least favorite feature about the CT200H? And that would be just like the braking of the vehicle. Granted, take this with a grain of sand because this is how hybrids work. It kind of has either the spongy or the more aggressive brakes to give it the better battery recharge and better fuel economy. But if you're not used to it, it's kind of a more stiffer brake to get used to. But just that's how hybrids work, and you know, as you get used to it and you own the vehicle, this will probably become your second nature. So not a big deal of the worst feature. Question number 3 of the interview section is, what is the most unique feature about the Lexus CT200H? That is the overall trackpad. Kind of a cool little touch for the early 2010s. I also love how you can check the stock market and the info screen, but just a cool, very unique setup to the CT. Question number 4 of the interview section is the Lexus CT200H worth its value? And I would say yes, especially now. They hold their value pretty good, but you can get one of these for a pretty good price, around 10-15 grand, depending on the mileage of it. But just, you know, you're getting an affordable car, a very high quality car, a very luxurious, well-built car for 10 grand, great fuel economy. It's a Lexus. The only thing you might have to, you know, is a hybrid battery, but still, it's a Lexus. Lasts you forever as long as you don't do anything stupid to it. So, worth the value. Yes, indeed. And question number 5 of the interview section is, would I ever want or own the Lexus CT200H? And the answer is hell yes. As a person who is more into trucks usually, but has a special thing for hatchbacks, I love the rarity of the CT200H. It's affordable, great gas mileage, it's a cool car, drives well, and being brutally honest, I want to buy one of these very badly. I hope it doesn't like appreciate like the Toyota FJ Cruiser did as a cool kind of rare car. But just in general, I love this thing. So hell yes, I would want to buy one someday, and hopefully will in the near future. Now that we evaluated Lexus CT200H's characteristics and features, time to see where it falls on the lemon list evaluation scale. Before I begin, I want to thank my friend Omer and his sister Michelle for lending me your CT200H for the production of this video. Both Omer and Michelle have great Instagram pages where they highlight their personal vehicles, and I will leave their page names in the description below. Now on with the scoring. Starting with exterior, CT200H is a well-designed car, being one of the few hatches with a more chiseled and angular look, earning a 6 out of 10. Interior of the CT200H is nice, having a unique design and high-quality ergonomic layout, earning a 7 out of 10. Road trip on the CT is great, having impressively strong comfort for its class, earning a 7 out of 10. MPG on the CT is nearly immaculate as expected, having a combined estimated MPG of 41.5 miles per gallon, falling only half a mile short of earning a 10 out of 10, but still good enough for a 9 out of 10 on the MPG scale. Storage on the CT is a weak spot, as this small little hatch only has 14.3 cubic feet of storage, earning a 4 out of 10 for storage. Character on the CT is decent. These are a rare, sporty-looking Lexus hatchback, and I think they're cool. However, to the average person, it's just another hatchback, still earning a 5 out of 10 for character. Which on the CT200H is alright, as one could ask for some better tech and a touchscreen with this hatchback, and it earns a 6 out of 10 for wishlist. Handling on the CT is fine. These are extremely maneuverable due to their small size. While the CT is no sports car, it has surprisingly tight steering, but in a good way, and earns a 5 out of 10 for handling. Excitement for the CT is alright, as some people get a kick out of driving this rare luxury hatch, earning a 5 out of 10 for excitement. Stupidity on the CT is good, as there aren't many abnormal flaws with this vehicle aside from the oddly small back seats and stiff brakes, earning an 8 out of 10 for stupidity. Pricing of the CT is great, as you can find one of these with reasonably low miles for around 10 grand. I'd score it higher, but a battery replacement is basically the equivalent to an engine swap in terms of price, Plus these were relatively overpriced while they were new, and earns an 8 out of 10 for price. Engine responsiveness on the CT is alright, as 1.8 liter 4-cylinder produces okay power, and these aren't necessarily quick, still earning a 4 out of 10 for engine responsiveness. And overall amenities on the CT is good. Although the tech could be better, you're getting an eye-catching, high-quality vehicle with a quirky vibe and comfortable ride. For 10 grand, you really can't go wrong with a smooth hatchback that gets 40 mpg, plus Lexus' strong reliability. For these reasons, the CT200H earns a 7 out of 10 for overall amenities. And altogether, you get a grand total of 81 out of 130, divided by 13 categories is 6.23. Overall, the CT200H was near the top of the lemon list, tying for third place of the 37 vehicles I've reviewed this far. The best way I can put it is that the CT doesn't really do anything poorly. It's a practical, affordable luxury hatchback that's rare and has a nice design, being the reason for all the consistently high scores in their respective categories. Personally, the CT is one of my favorite Lexus ever made. While they didn't have a huge target market due to their expensive price tag for a hatchback, they were just cool little cars that were practical and more enjoyable and head-turning than a basic hatchback. Although the CT didn't last long in the US, I think it's deserving of some recognition, as I believe this car was a truly great combination of practicality and enjoyment packed into one. If you enjoyed this video, please feel free to hit the subscribe button, it is greatly appreciated. Stay tuned for more reviews coming in the next couple weeks, and as always, thank you for watching.